Researchers have made a breakthrough this week in genetically editing shrimp, breeding them for improved disease resistance, growth rates, and environmental adaptations. Should we embrace genetically editing humans?
Okay. While I was thinking about this topic and while I was considering this news, I actually found out that I'm more of a, how you call them, like a technological optimist, something like that. So basically, I believe that new development, new technologies, new breakthroughs in science, they usually bring more positive things in our lives. So with that, I would say that we can get a lot of good benefits out of this breakthrough. And I also checked that we kind of had already got a lot of benefits from this genes modification. So for example, in 2020, we got a first successful genetically modified heart transplant from the pig to a person. Then in 2023, they repeated this success and it was better because in 2020, the patient lived just a couple of months, and in 2023, it was much better. Then in 2021, yes, there was, in 2020 also, there was a patient with sickle cell disease and, how you call it, CRISPR-based therapy. And again, it was the breakthrough. So I think with that, we can be quite hopeful that we will be able to basically cure some genetic diseases. And I think we should do it. I think we should do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So yeah,
wow.
on this one, we actually agree 100%. Bit surprising. I totally agree. I think for a few reasons, and I want to take it in a slightly different direction, I think, to even what you had mentioned. Again, in general, this CRISPR technology has been around for a couple of years. And what's so phenomenal about it is that, again, when it was discovered, it's called the CRISPR-Cas9 technology, right? Yeah. So they take this CRISPR, which literally stands for clustered, regularly interspaced, short, palindromic repeats. Don't think you know what that means. I have no idea what that means, but it has something to do with DNA, right? Cas9 is an enzyme that recognizes and opens certain strands of DNA. So they take this technology, and it's essentially genetic scissors, as it's described by the founders and a lot of people who obviously know about this stuff. So with that, you're able to go in and physically individual strands of DNA, modify it, change it, which is obviously very precise and has potential for tremendous benefits. And again, I think you mentioned, for example, sickle cell disease being sort of an easy one that you could target and try to alleviate. Another one that comes to mind for me is hemophilia. For example, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's the disease where your blood has trouble clotting. So that was a sort of famous illness that was actually made famous by Tsar Nicholas. Yeah, exactly. His son actually had a huge impact on the Russian Revolution, the Russian Empire, a whole different topic. But
good point.
That was sort of very impactful case of hemophilia. But again, these type of diseases have small, I think, single gene issues. So there's single gene problems that this CRISPR-Cas9 technology can go in and fix. So, from my perspective, 100% we should be embracing this technology. Now, that being said, it goes even deeper, because then where do you draw the line? How do you take it forward from there? So I read a study from Pew Research back in 2022 that said 48% of American adults would genetically edit their children to reduce the risk of disease. Only 48%. Now, 73%, however, said that they would feel pressure to do so if other people were doing it. Oh. So that raises sort of the question as to where do you draw the line? To what extent should you go into genetic alterations? But then even more interestingly is that 83% of Americans polled said they would So 83% of Americans polled said that gene editing to improve IQ was a step too far and they wouldn't do that. So as it stands now, you've got about half of the population in the U.S. who would sort of use this technology to improve any issues around disease and all of that, but not yet to genetically edit their children or anything like that. So I guess my next question to you is, should we be looking at not only just preventing disease, should we actually be looking into positively genetically editing our children, the human race? What's your take on that?
Great question and great point, because when I was thinking about this as well, that was my main concern. Even though I'm fully support using the gene modifications in order to cure diseases, in order to help people, especially when it comes to, again, gene diseases like Alzheimer's and all of this. Nobody has learned how to do this. However, I'm very, very concerned that this technology can be used for, not for good, can be used for even like for military purposes. Look at the Captain America. I don't want to have Hulks and Captain Americas of this world. Really.
Would you prefer Captain Russia, or is it just you don't want Captain America across the board?
No, it's not about America. It's not about America, man. I wouldn't prefer Captain.
Just Captain in general.
Yes. Fair enough. Yeah. I don't want to have a super soldiers or something like that, because basically then you create additional, imbalance between people. And someone who can afford these technologies, they will be genetically modified to be better, stronger, smarter, and so on, faster, you name it. So, yeah, my take on this is we should clearly draw the line over here. It can be used for cure, but I'm not sure. Actually, I'm sure that it should not be used for alterations and for like modifications to to create superhumans, super people.
So you would not use it to boost anything, whether it's IQ, whether it's this, whether it's that. You wouldn't do that.
I would love to have personally something like to try, but if I think of the larger scale, I don't think that it should be available to like some people. I don't think.
So now we totally disagree.
Okay.
I completely disagree. I think absolutely we should be pursuing technology like that. So for example, this is something that
I haven't said we should not pursue the technology like that.
Okay, I'm saying we should be pursuing it, even the alterations you're talking about. I think we should be editing our DNA if we can to improve intelligence, to improve this, to become bigger, stronger, faster. I don't see a problem with that. I don't see any issue with that. You're saying you're against that completely.
Yeah. So if imagine this technology, most likely it will be super expensive, right? So basically then we are going to the movie called Time, where those who are the richest people, they are also the strongest, the smartest, they dominate everything, and others, they have no opportunities to somehow improve it. And we never know about the consequences. Again, I think there are lots of movies. I'm in the kind of pop culture mode today. There are a lot of movies where you can find whenever people start playing with genes for like to making something better, and they do it to a large scale, to super large scale, they are careless about this. I think it goes to catastrophic consequences.
I mean,
have you seen Planet of the Apes?
I have seen Planet of the Apes. Great movie.
Great
I've seen every
movie.
single one. Yeah.
Exactly. Have you seen what happened?
Yeah, I saw what happened. Fine. It's a movie. It's Hollywood. I mean, fine. Okay. But no, I think it's something that's actually important to do, and there's a couple of reasons for that. So, for example, you as a parent, so I know you're not a parent now, I'm not a parent now, but conceptually, some research that I did also, so there's a professor named Professor Antonakis of organizational behavior at Switzerland's University in Lausanne, who says that IQ is the single most important predictor of work success.
Okay.
So IQ has a very direct correlation to success at work, incomes, wealth, things like that. In 2012, Vanderbilt University also said, so this is in the US, that those with high IQs earn higher incomes on average than those with lower IQs. So the point is, if the technology is available and I can improve the IQ of my child with gene editing, why wouldn't I do it?
Why you should do it with gene editing?
Because it's possible. So why wouldn't I do it? What's the alternative? Why not?
There are many ways to increase your IQs.
And they're already being done, which is the point. So this is the argument I'm making. So this is coming, in my view, whether we like it or not. So again, if I have children, I'm going to do everything I can as a parent to make them more intelligent, successful, and all those things, right? That would be something we would all do. I assume you would do the same, right? I would hope so. I mean, so...
Not ready to talk about kids. I don't know.
Okay, so I have nothing.
I have nothing to say about this.
Okay, if you had kids.
Yeah, of course. I would like to have the best for them.
Of course, that's the point. As a parent, you want the best for your kids.
Of course.
So if that means, like when I was growing up, for example, going to summer classes, getting tutors, getting all the additional support that you might need, we would invest in that for our children, is the point. So my only argument is, once the technology is there and once it's clear that we can do these things, that we can edit DNA for IQ, that we can do it maybe for eye color, for hair color, for height, I think of course it's inevitable, and we're going to do it, and I actually think we should do it. Because again, we're already doing it unofficially. So again, whether that means tutoring, whether that means private school, we're already committing additional resources to try to improve ourselves. So why not just do it at the genetic level? What's the philosophical difference?
So you are comparing education with gene modification, and you are putting them on the same level.
I am. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is seeking the same outcome, which is improving intelligence, improving opportunities later in life, improving any of that. So again, there's already a wealth gap, right? Where wealthier people are able to send their kids to private schools, able to send their kids to summer school, get tutors, all of these things. So there's already this gap that exists where, again, people without those means aren't able to do that. So you already have this built-in sort of gap, whether it comes to IQ, whether it comes to opportunities and all of that. So all I'm saying here is that we already have that motivation in society. We already, as human beings, want to, again, have the best for our children, for our friends, for our family. So why not just go for that even at the genetic level? What is the fundamental difference? And I think eventually this is going to happen whether we like it or not. So better to just embrace it, get on board, and support it.
I would prefer to see it in alterations in something else rather than people, rather than human beings. So I like when, for example, they use the same technology to improve rice. That's what I like. Like when you improve the products, and when you improve the different like consumables that we use. This is good. Like I don't mind that. Like they modified the rice in 2023, and I think it was approved in Philippines actually for a wider use. And now this rice can help people produce more vitamin A, which is great because people have a deficit of vitamin A. Perfect.
Sure.
However, like again, this is you apply for something that is accessible to a lot of people. And even though I don't believe that everything should be available to everyone, I am very concerned that if you apply these gene modifications, this technology, this research to a very limited group of people can afford it first, and second, I think when you start modifying something, like let's take the plastic surgery. There are a lot of cases where someone starts modifying something, starting to change something, they never stop. So whenever the people start working with genes and they will like try to improve IQ, then we'll try to improve something else. And again, I'm afraid that the consequences are not yet calculated.
Fine, but aren't we as humans naturally going to do that anyway? So that's my entire point, that we're always going to strive to improve our IQs, improve our physical capacity, improve anything about ourselves.
That's a good point.
So even take your example about the genetically altered rice. Okay, so that's one step, which is we modified the plant, fixed the rice. Now we're giving rice to people so they don't have a vitamin A deficiency. What if we just went into their genes and built in some kind of vitamin A, improved production of vitamin A, for example? What's the fundamental difference? Why don't we start doing that? And at some point, if you keep going down this road, we're going to continue to open up these doors. And my only point is, why don't we just embrace it? Because that's how we are as people anyway. This is what we do, sort of as human beings. So what's the fundamental issue? Is my only question about that.
What's the fundamental issue with improving ourselves?
No, I'm saying with genetically altering ourselves to make these improvements.
So again, I will repeat what I just said. I think I can see the two main issues. The first one is it increases the, how do you call it, the disadvantages, right? It increases the unfair advantage of someone, which might create additional tense in the society, in the world. And the second, what I wanted to say is we don't know about the risks, and it might lead us to consequences that we don't want. Because whenever I assume that currently you cannot modify something just to increase the vitamin A in our genes.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. But I don't want to see the scenario when they want to modify something, when they want to increase the vitamin A, and suddenly this person gets, I don't know, ultra speed or something like that.
So that sounds like a benefit, actually, not really a cost. But my point is, this is all embedded already. So even take GMOs, right? So we're using this technology for genetically modified organisms to make food, again, easier to grow, more plentiful, all these other things. We don't know if that's actually going to have some sort of negative impact either, but we're doing it anyway. Why? Because there's a clear benefit, which is You feed more people, you get people again with higher vitamin A levels, you solve some of these health issues. So all I'm saying is, why not just go all the way? Which is to say, you want to be smarter rather than spending all this money on private school, this, that, and the other thing. Let's change your genes. Let's make you smarter if you want to be smarter. I don't see what the philosophical issue is. And my only reason for asking the question is this is going to become an issue. This is going to be something as technology develops. And as we're seeing these huge breakthroughs happening pretty frequently, we're going to need to ask ourselves these questions.
I'm not saying that we are not going there. I think you're right in this case that we eventually go there into the direction where we want to improve ourselves one way or another, and one way or another. It will be either genetic modification, or we will end up with, I don't know, bionic arms and so on. But I'm not sure. Again, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's an ultimately bad thing. As I said, I'm a kind of technical optimist. But in a way, I have quite strong concerns to how widespread it should be.
Fair enough. I was going to say I don't share those concerns. I think, again, there's a risk, obviously. There's risk to any of these things. But I think in principle, I think the mindset for society, particularly on these things, should be forward-looking. And again, to the technical,
with that,
optimistic
I agree.
point,
With that,
which
I
is
agree.
embrace it. So sort of shoot first, ask questions later. Let's allow the technology, and then we deal with the ramifications. Because why would we slow these things down? Why would we fight these things when we know at the end of the day it's going to end up at the same point anyway? That's my sort of argument. And even to start to wrap up the topic, but I don't know if you know Yuval Noah Harari. You've heard of this guy? Yeah, of course. Homo sapiens, and famous author, famous thinker, brilliant
Great
guy.
thinker. Yeah.
Great thinker. And he wrote that humankind is, to your point, facing a potential split into a class of superhumans and a class of what he called useless people because of things like, again, AI, but particularly biotech. So the only point I'm making is this biotech is coming anyway. So better to sort of be prepared as society and embrace it, acknowledge that this is what's going to happen, and try to plan for that, versus trying to ban it or trying to stop it, because at the end of the day, if the technology's there, I think we're just going to use it.
That is hard to disagree with it. I don't think we should ban it in any way. And whenever it comes to any new technology, I don't think that the first reaction should be ban it, slow it down, and everything. No, the only point I would like to add to this is yes, but just we need to keep about the consequences and calculate the risks. That's the only thing I wanted to add.
On that, I actually agree with you. So I think we're actually aligned on that point. The only, again, key difference is if and when we both have kids, my kids are going to get higher IQs because I'm going to genetically alter them, and yours, if you want to wait, that's up to you. But then we'll see how our kids are doing in school, and we can assess it there.
You couldn't resist all this comment, right?
I couldn't. I had to. I had to go there.